1. Americans in the nation's capital graded President Biden's performance after a new poll showed the country's leader sank to a 38% approval rating in March, lower than F. 2. Turkey has given approval to Finland's application to join NATO, which clears the final obstacle for Finland's membership. Sweden, however, is still waiting for its application to be approved. 3. Two of the Americans who were kidnapped at gunpoint in a Mexican border city on Friday have returned to the U.S. and are being treated at a hospital, while the remains of the 2 Americans who were killed are expected to be brought back to the U.S. Thursday. 4. In private emails, Ann Carlson, President Biden's nominee for a safety agency in the Transportation Department, has expressed her intention to promote climate policies at the agency, potentially using it to advance her climate agenda. 5. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida has signed a new gun rights bill into law, making Florida the 26th state in the U.S. to allow permitless gun carry. This has now tipped the country into becoming a majority constitutional carrying nation. 6. Barack Obama arrives in Sydney, meets with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese while touring Sydney.
7. Donald Trump is gearing up for a battle ahead of his scheduled court hearing on Tuesday, his lawyer has said. He is expected to fly to New York City from his home on Monday to face charges related to hush money payments made to a porn star. After his court hearing, he will address his supporters in Florida. 8. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has announced through his social media platform, Truth Social, that he will be going to New York City on Monday. This is in preparation for his scheduled court appearance on Tuesday, where he will face charges related to a payment made to a pornographic actress. 9. On Monday, President Biden is scheduled to visit a suburban area of Minneapolis to promote clean energy, while the country waits for former President Trump to arrive in New York City. 10. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's office has confirmed that he will hold a meeting with Taiwan's President, Tsai Ing-wen, and members of Congress this week. The meeting will be held on Wednesday at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley and is expected to be bipartisan. 11. Hardy, Carly Pearce, Kane Brown and Megan Thee Stallion set to present at an annual ceremony celebrating country music videos. Country music stars focused on fashion while walking the red carpet ahead of the 2023 CMT Music Awards Sunday in Austin, Texas.
1. For the past few days, the news has been focused on the legal charges against Donald Trump. The media is asking many questions such as whether Trump will be arrested, will he be cuffed? How will this affect the 2024 election? And whether he can still run for office? 2. Former President Trump has been accused of falsifying business records and has been charged with 34 counts in the first degree. If convicted, he could face a maximum sentence of 136 years in prison. 3. In just 60 seconds, former President Donald Trump made history with his court appearance in New York City. He pleaded not guilty to 34 felony charges. This is a significant event that has never happened before. 4. The Biden White House has chosen to avoid questions about the arrest of former President Trump. They have been largely silent on this issue, saying that it is not a priority for President Biden. 5. Astronauts who will helm the first crewed moon mission in 5 decades were revealed on Monday, queuing up the quartet to begin training for the historic Artemis II lunar flyby that is set to take off in November 2024. The astronauts are Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. 6. California Governor Gavin Newsom is traveling to states that are controlled by the Republican Party, even though he previously banned official travel to those states. He is doing this to support Democrat candidates who are running for governor in those states. This is happening as there are rumors that he might run for President of the United States.
7. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis holds a narrow lead over indicted former President Donald Trump in a head-to-head poll of Florida registered voters, while his approval rating is at a near high of 59%. 8. Recently, satellite images obtained by the Post from Maxar show that Russia has built many trenches in Crimea, a region that it illegally annexed in 2014. These trenches suggest that Russia is concerned about potentially losing control of the area. 9. A convicted murderer who was allowed to leave prison in Russia to join the Wagner private military company and fight in Ukraine was arrested within days of returning home on suspicion of killing an elderly woman. 10. 4 years ago, before the Earthshot Prize even had a name, Jacinda was one of the first people I spoke to, and her encouragement and advice was very important to the Prize's early success. Prince William said, "I am hugely grateful to her for joining us as she takes the next steps in her career." Follow news, learn English. 1. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen declared the relationship between the United States and Taiwan is strong amid unprecedented challenges in the Indo-Pacific region. 2. Fact-checking reveals that in his first address after being indicted, former President Donald Trump made many false claims. 3. The indictment against former President Trump reveals key lines and takeaways. Former President Trump pleads not guilty to 34 felony counts related to falsifying business records. 4. A federal appeals court denies former President Trump's emergency bid to prevent ex-aides from testifying in the January 6 investigation. 5. The Biden administration is preparing to declare that the Wall Street Journal reporter who was arrested in Russia is wrongfully detained. 6. First Lady Jill Biden will attend the coronation of King Charles III, according to an announcement from the White House. 7. A federal judge rules that the construction of the Willow Project can move forward while environmental groups' lawsuits continue. 8. Key Democratic senators are proposing that Supreme Court funding be tied to an ethics code for the justices. 9. Some people who have been accused of crimes have been able to return to positions of power despite facing prosecution. 10. During a training exercise, FBI and Army soldiers entered the wrong hotel room and detained a guest who was staying there. 11. A storm system that caused the deaths of 5 people in Missouri is now threatening severe weather for 50 million Americans. 12. The Federal Reserve predicts that approximately 1.5 million people could lose their jobs by the end of the year. 13. There are heavy battles taking place in Bakhmut, as Russia tries to gain full control of the area, according to a Ukrainian soldier. 1. I know I can count on you to bring Russia to its senses, and bring everyone back to the negotiating table. French leader Macron has urged his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to help stop Russia's war in Ukraine.
2. China vows strong measures after McCarthy meets Taiwan's president. After a Wednesday meeting in California between Taiwanese President and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, China said it would take strong action to defend its sovereignty.
3. Ukrainian President Zelensky has visited Poland, as his host promised to send more fighter jets to Ukraine. President Duda said he would send Poland's remaining fleet of MiG-29 jets if there is still such a need. 4. President Joe Biden's administration blamed conditions created by President Donald Trump for the chaotic withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan in the summer of 2021, according to a summary of findings from an administration-wide after-action review released Thursday. 5. Because I sat down with the president on February 1st, and the president never wants to meet, the House Speaker fumed. That's interesting. I'm very concerned about the debt ceiling. I want to make sure we don't have conflict. Wall Street investors should be concerned.
6. Former California Democrat Governor Jerry Brown is expressing doubt over whether President Biden, who has yet to officially announce a re-election bid in 2024, can overcome his challenges to win the White House next year. It's hinge on what the alternatives are. 7. Former Vice President Mike Pence will comply with a special counsel subpoena after a court case limiting what prosecutors can ask of him in testimony. 8. Top GOP congressman issues stark warning over what he called U.S. vulnerability to China after a bipartisan meeting with Taiwanese president. 9. Some members of the Republican Party are unhappy with Governor Gavin Newsom's idea to make it a requirement for trucks to run on electricity. They are worried that this new requirement might cause problems for the power grid, which could affect the stability of the electricity supply. 10. Liberal judge's victory in Wisconsin Supreme Court race marks political shift in key swing state. 11. Bipartisan congressional leaders invite South Korean president to speak before joint meeting of Congress. 12. Taiwan's president warns democracy is under threat in joint remarks with McCarthy.
One. U.S. defense officials have warned that Chinese President Xi Jinping may consider launching an invasion of Taiwan by 2027. President Biden also made headlines last year when he said he was prepared to send in troops to defend Taipei should Beijing launch an attack. 2. China's Xi Jinping has given French President Emmanuel Macron an unusually lavish welcome on a state visit, which some analysts see as a sign of Beijing's growing offensive to woo key allies within the European Union to counter the United States.
3. Biden said, "I'm a Second Amendment guy. I have 2 shotguns. My sons have shotguns. But our states, everybody thinks somehow the Second Amendment is absolute. You're not allowed to go out and own an automatic weapon. You're not allowed to own a machine gun. You're not allowed to own a flamethrower. 4. Last week, the Biden administration suggested a regulation that could give environmental groups the power to stop oil and gas exploration on public lands. 5. A new report claims that President Biden's efforts to encourage Americans to move away from using fossil fuels and traditional cars is giving China more power and hurting the security of the United States.
6. President Joe Biden and the White House have attacked Republicans in recent months for positions the president himself once held on Social Security and entitlement programs, including sunset bills and raising the retirement age. 7. In the 2024 presidential primary, the Republican Party is revisiting a significant foreign policy debate from the past, but with a potential reversal of outcomes.
8. Governor Kristi Noem has promised to oppose the Title IX rules proposed by the Biden administration. These rules would broaden the definition of sexual discrimination to include gender identity. This could prevent schools and colleges from banning transgender athletes. 9. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has defended his luxury trips after a report claimed that he received hospitality from a billionaire. 10. This week, the Republican Party introduced 3 bills aimed at preventing school shootings. The bills propose measures to make it simpler for schools to hire and train armed officers. The goal is to deter such violent incidents from occurring in schools. 11. The next time there will be court hearings related to the matter will not be for several months. However, outside of the courthouse, Trump resumed criticizing the people involved in the case and their families. This has raised concerns about whether his comments could cause legal trouble for him. Land him in hot water legally. 12. Stormy Daniels, a former adult film actress, recently stated that she believes former President Trump does not deserve to be sent to prison. She also expressed feeling sadness upon seeing him in court this week. 13. The House Oversight Committee has asked banks to provide financial records related to the Biden family through subpoenas, according to sources. One. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will visit Vietnam next week, Senator Jeff Merkley told a news conference in Hanoi on Saturday, as part of Washington's efforts to move diplomatic relations with Hanoi to a higher level this year. 2. The United States Navy has deployed a submarine that can launch guided missiles to the Middle East region. 3. Over the weekend, a Chinese warship conducted live-fire exercises in the area near Taiwan, as part of a larger military training operation that China has said is intended to warn those who support Taiwanese independence. 4. Ukraine is now able to sell electricity to other countries for the first time in 6 months. This comes after Ukraine's energy infrastructure was damaged due to several attacks by Russia over the past few months, but has since recovered. 5. Farmers in Romania are driving their tractors to the Nădlac customs in protest over the low price of grains and the negative effects of having a lot of cheap grains imported from Ukraine. 6. Iran has recently installed cameras in public places with the aim of identifying and punishing women who are not wearing the hijab, a traditional headscarf worn by Muslim women. 7. The Iraqi government called on Turkey on Saturday to apologize for what it said was an attack on Sulaymaniyah Airport in northern Iraq. 8. Malaysia said on Saturday it was firmly committed to protecting its sovereign rights and interests in the South China Sea after China expressed concern about Malaysian energy projects in a part of the sea that China also claims. 9. A new person from the Kennedy family, a famous and influential American political family, has submitted documents to run for president as a member of the Democratic Party, and may be challenging the current president, Joe Biden, for the nomination.
10. A judge in Texas who was appointed by former President Trump has ordered a hold on the approval of a commonly used abortion medication called mifepristone. 11. Jim Rickards, the author of the book Currency Wars, has responded to China and Malaysia's proposal to decrease reliance on the US dollar and create a new global currency. This move comes as other countries also explore alternatives to the US dollar. Follow news, learn English. 1. During a recent interview on the Today Show, U.S. President Joe Biden, 80, went further than his previous statement of intending to run for a second term in 2024. Additionally, he participated in an Easter egg roll event.
2. China ended 3 days of military drills around Taiwan on Monday, saying they had tested integrated military capabilities under actual combat conditions, having practiced precision strikes and blockading the island that Beijing views as its own. 3. China firmly opposes the visit of India's Home Minister to Arunachal Pradesh and sees his actions in the region as a violation of Beijing's territorial sovereignty, said a spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry during a news briefing on Monday. 4. Japan stressed on Monday the importance of peace in the Taiwan Strait during a meeting of senior Japanese and Chinese officials after Beijing held 3 days of war games around the island. 5. The Philippine president assured China on Monday that military bases accessible to the United States would not be used in any offensive action, stressing the arrangement with Washington was designed to boost his country's defenses.
6. French President Emmanuel Macron said that Europe should have an independent strategy regarding Taiwan and should not follow the policies of either the United States or China. 7. The president of Belarus told Russia's defense minister on Monday that he wants guarantees from Russia that they will protect Belarus if it is ever attacked. 8. Ukraine has been forced to amend some of its military plans due to a leak of classified U.S. documents.
9. A senior Ukrainian commander said on Monday that Russian troops were using scorched earth tactics in the embattled city of Bakhmut and destroying buildings and positions with airstrikes and artillery. 10. After 3 years since the coronavirus pandemic started, a rising number of scientists are thinking again about the risks of searching for unfamiliar pathogens and conducting other high-risk work globally.
11. After a rather varied career as an astronaut, chef, paramedic, skateboarder, teacher, beekeeper, and mermaid, it's only right that Barbie tries her hand at being a movie star.
Follow News Learn English. 1. The future is now. China, Russia revert to pre-1989 world and fundamentally challenge the US-led West. 2. U.S. President Biden is traveling to Northern Ireland to commemorate the 25-year anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, which is an important event in the region's political history. 3. There is almost nothing that the polarized politicians in Washington can agree on these days. Bipartisan cooperation is extremely hard to find. But there is one issue on which just about everyone sees eye to eye. 4. Donald Trump's team of lawyers have requested to challenge the court's decision to summon ex-Vice President Mike Pence to testify in the Department of Justice investigation into the events of January 6. 5. The cities in Ukraine are being heavily attacked, while officials in the United States are urgently trying to find out where leaked classified documents, including plans for a Ukrainian counteroffensive, came from.
6. Leaked U.S. document says, President Abdul in February planned to produce 40,000 rockets for Russia and instructed officials to keep production and shipment secret to avoid problems with the West.
7. Chinese military exercises near Taiwan indicate that they are taking the possibility of a conflict seriously and are preparing to block the democratically governed island, according to analysts. 8. The Chinese Navy continued with actual combat training around Taiwan on Tuesday, state media said, a day after Beijing announced the end of drills and as Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen criticized China for its irresponsible behavior. 9. Russia is ready to introduce electronic military draft papers for the first time in its history in an effort to make it harder for men to avoid being drafted after the lower house of parliament gave its backing to the move.
10. South Korea denied the accuracy of a supposed leaked document that was said to be based on private conversations among its high-level security officials, calling the contents false and manipulated.
11. Pakistan on Tuesday condemned India's decision to hold group of 20 meetings in the disputed Himalayan territory of Kashmir next month, calling the move irresponsible.
12. Jeremy Renner is the latest star to brush death. Leonardo DiCaprio was involved in a skydiving accident that put his life in jeopardy, and Orlando Bloom crushed his spine during a fall in 1998.
13. Stranger Things star Millie Bobby Brown appears to be engaged to her boyfriend, Jake Bon Jovi, son of John Bon Jovi, but fans think they're too young. 14. I begin my 58th year with nothing but sunshine and a smile, Poroskova wrote beneath a bird's-eye photo of her lying in bed, loosely wrapped in a sheet and cuddling a stuffed animal.
Follow News Learn English. April 12th. 1. President Joe Biden visited Belfast to commemorate the 25th anniversary of peace and encouraged Northern Irish politicians to work together to form a government. He also mentioned that many major U.S. corporations were willing to invest in the region to boost its economy. 2. President Biden, who is proud of his Irish heritage, spent a short time in the UK, where he met with the British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. He then travelled to the Irish Republic,
where he spent 2.5 days giving speeches and having meetings with government officials and distant relatives. 3. Former President Donald Trump criticized French President Emmanuel Macron for being too friendly with Chinese leader Xi Jinping during Macron's recent visit to Beijing. 4. French officials were working to control the damage caused by President Macron's recent comments about Europe's reliance on the United States and its relationship with China and Taiwan. These comments had created anger, division, and confusion among the public.
5.
On Wednesday, Ukraine compared Russia to the Islamic State and asked the International Criminal Court to investigate a video that had been posted online. The video showed apparent Russian soldiers filming themselves while they beheaded a Ukrainian prisoner with a knife. 6. Serbia, one of the only countries in Europe that has refused to sanction Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. Serbia agreed to supply arms to Kyiv or has sent them already, according to a classified Pentagon document. 7. The disappearance of a Vatican schoolgirl in Italy 40 years ago remains an unsolved mystery. However, on Tuesday, her brother met with a Vatican investigator whom Pope Francis has given the authority to investigate the case thoroughly. 8. Former President Trump is taking legal action against his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, for over $500 million. The lawsuit alleges that Cohen violated their attorney-client relationship, gained unjust enrichment, and committed other offenses. 9. As the Republican 2024 primary race continues to heat up, DeSantis and his wife have been invited as special guests at the Feenstra family picnic. According to DeSantis, Iowa and Florida share common values such as freedom, protection of parents' rights, and prioritizing faith. 10. Governor Huckabee will sign a bill today that requires minors to get their parents' permission before using social media apps. 11. A fire broke out at a recycling plant that is known for being a potential fire hazard. The fire has caused dangerous smoke to spread, and officials warn that it could continue to burn for several days. 12. Arnold Schwarzenegger recently took action by filling in a pothole in his Los Angeles neighborhood. He had been waiting for 3 weeks for it to be repaired. 13. The palace has confirmed that Prince Harry will attend King Charles's coronation without Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle will stay behind in California with the couple's 2 children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. Follow News Learn English. April 13th. 1. There is a full-blown investigation going on, as you know, with the intelligence community and the Justice Department, and they're getting close, Biden told reporters in Dublin. 2. The FBI has arrested a suspect, named as Jack Teixeira, who they believe is linked to a leak of confidential U.S. defense and intelligence documents. He is a 21-year-old member of the intelligence wing of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. 3. The Pentagon told a press conference the leak was a deliberate criminal act. The defense and intelligence files were leaked on the gaming platform Discord, causing panic among top U.S. officials. 4. At least 50, but perhaps more than 100, secret documents were posted on the platform. The material includes sensitive information regarding the war in Ukraine, as well as on China and U.S. allies.
5. Appeals court temporarily keeps abortion pills available but limits access. A Texas judge issued a ruling that would suspend Food and Drug Administration approval of mifepristone, a key abortion medication, as of April 15.
6. Lauderdale experienced the rainiest day in its history Wednesday, a 1-inch to 1,000-year rainfall event, sparking a flash flood emergency in Broward County that has prompted emergency rescues, forced drivers to abandon cars, shuttered schools, and shut down the airport through Thursday morning. 7. China will ban vessels from an area near Taiwan on Sunday because of the possibility of falling rocket debris, its Maritime Safety Agency said on Thursday, as Japan sought details from Beijing on a reported no-fly zone in the same location. 8. China's exports unexpectedly surged in March, with officials flagging rising demand for electric vehicles, but analysts cautioned the improvement partly reflects suppliers catching up with unfulfilled orders after last year's COVID-19 disruptions. 9. North Korea fired a new model of long-range ballistic missile on Thursday, South Korea said, triggering a scare in northern Japan where residents were told to take cover, though there turned out to be no danger. 10. Sister Wives star Christine Brown announced she's engaged to boyfriend David Woolley in an Instagram post, 2 months after revealing their relationship. 11. Friday Night Lights star Minka Kelly details a shocking childhood, strip clubs, peep shows, and teen pregnancy. Follow News, Learn English, April 14th. 1. President Biden received a standing ovation after telling Irish leaders he wanted to lick the world with them during a banquet at Dublin Castle Thursday evening. 2. The chairman of the New Hampshire Republican Party, Chris Ager, has stated that the upcoming Amos Tuck fundraising dinner, featuring Governor Ron DeSantis as the keynote speaker, is expected to generate a new record in fundraising. This is seen as a potential boost for DeSantis, who is reportedly considering a presidential run. 3. The abortion pill mifepristone may not be available for months if limits on it set by lower courts are allowed to take effect, President Joe Biden's administration and the drug's manufacturer told the U.S. Supreme Court on Friday in a bid to defend access to the drug.
4. Experts say that the United States needs to find out how the Pentagon documents were leaked so that its allies can trust it again. The leak of these documents caused a lot of damage, including revealing important intelligence information and people that took a lot of time and money to find and protect. This has hurt national security and put the safety of intelligence workers at risk. It's very important that the U.S. does something about this quickly. Jack Teixeira. He is a 21-year-old member of the intelligence wing of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. 5. On Friday, China and Brazil agreed to establish a working group to collaborate on semiconductors. This comes as Brazil seeks to enhance its relationship with China in sensitive technology areas. 6. On Friday, European foreign policy officials issued a statement urging China to refrain from using force against Taiwan. This comes in response to recent threats made by Beijing towards the island, which is governed democratically. Some have criticized French President Macron's comments on the matter as being too soft, prompting a tougher stance from other European officials.
7. Britain should take action after a violent incident during protests outside India's embassy in London last month, India's Prime Minister Modi told British counterpart Rishi Sunak on Thursday. 8. Ukraine will test and use any non-banned weapons to liberate its territory, including Russian-occupied Crimea, the head of its National Security and Defense Council said on Friday. 9. France's Constitutional Council has paved the way for French President Emmanuel Macron to officially raise the age of retirement from 62 to 64 amid nationwide protests. 10. On Friday, a 50-year-old extreme athlete from Spain completed a 500-day challenge where he lived 70 meters, 230 feet, deep in a cave near Granada with very little contact with the outside world. 11. Many viewers of the popular TV show, American Idol, have criticized Judge Katy Perry for her harsh comments and critiques of contestants. Some have even compared her to the show's original judge, Simon Cowell, who was also known for being tough and critical. Follow News, Learn English. April 15th. 1. On Friday, U.S. President Joe Biden delivered an energetic speech to a lively audience in his ancestral hometown in the western region of Ireland. The speech concluded a sentimental 3-day official visit, ahead of what is anticipated to be a challenging re-election campaign in 2024. 2. A former Prime Minister of Israel has called on the United States and Israel to work together and present a united stance on the issue of Iran's nuclear capabilities in order to prevent Tehran from achieving its goals. 3. On Saturday, the German Environment Minister announced that the country's last 3 nuclear power plants will be shut down. He said, nuclear power supplied electricity for 3 generations, but its legacy remains dangerous for 30,000 generations.
4. People who encourage women to remove the hijab will be prosecuted in criminal courts and will have no right of appeal against any conviction, Iran's Deputy Attorney General was quoted as saying on Saturday. 5. A Brazilian Supreme Court justice ordered the federal police Friday to take testimony from former President Bolsonaro as part of the investigation into the January 8 attacks on government buildings in the capital. 6. On Saturday, during an event attended by the Japanese Prime Minister, a suspect threw a smoke bomb, causing the Prime Minister to be evacuated. The suspect was subsequently tackled to the ground by authorities.
7. China has updated its military draft policy to include veterans and college students. The new revisions were announced this week and state that in the event of war, those on the draft list will be notified. 8. Recently leaked documents contain assessments made by the United States military which highlight the precarious state of Taiwan's air defenses, the reduced amount of time they would have to prepare for an attack, and how China might use its space assets to further their objectives. 9. Across the country, teachers are puzzled by the sudden craze for playing chess among their students. The trend has been fueled by popular social media personalities, leaving teachers with mixed feelings of either disapproval or enjoyment. 10. Jack Nicholson, a famous Hollywood actor who is 85 years old, made a rare public appearance on a balcony in California. This is the first time he has been seen in 18 months. He will be celebrating his 86th birthday soon. Follow News Learn English. April 17th. 1. A decade since the United States and Vietnam launched our comprehensive partnership, and nearly 28 years since we normalized relations, our nations have forged a relationship that is robust, dynamic, and consequential. Blinken. 2. I am here at the behest of President Biden to further broaden and deepen that partnership following the President's call with the General Secretary last month and building on earlier high-level visits, including from Vice President Harris, Secretary of Defense Austin, U.S. 3. So for us, for President Biden, for Washington, this is one of the most dynamic and one of the most important relationships we've had. It's had a remarkable trajectory over the last couple of decades. Our conviction is that it can and will grow even stronger in the decades ahead. Thank you.
4. The U.S. warship USS Milius sailed through the Taiwan Strait on Sunday, in what the U.S. The Navy described on Monday as a routine transit, just days after China ended its latest war games around the island. 5. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is being investigated by Parliament's standards watchdog over whether he properly declared his wife's shareholding in a childcare company which stands to benefit from new government policy. 6. Kyiv aims to reopen food and grain transit via Poland as a first step to ending import bans at talks that began in Warsaw on Monday as countries halted grain from Ukraine to protect their local agriculture markets.
7. The launch of Starship, which is considered to be the most powerful rocket in the world, was cancelled by SpaceX due to a technical problem, resulting in the rocket remaining on its launch pad. 8. The highly anticipated season finale for Love is Blind on Netflix was set to stream live Sunday night but was faced with technical difficulties resulting in an over-hour-long delay and angry fans. 9. The power of money. During his visit to China, Brazilian President Lula, a football powerhouse in the world, talked to CCTV about his interest in Chinese football, saying that he often watches the Chinese League One football matches. 10. When China ended a lengthy border closure in January, e-commerce marketer Tianyi Ren immediately began planning a team-building trip for her 14 staff to Australia, hoping to see its stunning pink salt lakes that had captivated her on social media. Follow News Learn English. April 18th. 1. By rejecting this bill, President Biden is prioritizing the interests of a minority group over women, who make up 51% of the population. The president's decision indicates a disregard for science, truth, and logic. 2. Russian President Vladimir Putin says the West is trying to finish his country. The Biden administration denies the accusation. But leaked documents reveal the extent of U.S. involvement in the Ukraine fight. 3. The U.S. military recently warned that the Biden administration's plans to develop offshore wind farms could make it difficult for them to carry out their naval operations.
4. How DeSantis became Florida's most powerful governor in a generation. DeSantis wants to make America Florida. Here's what that looks like. 5. Kremlin critic Vladimir was jailed for 25 years by a Moscow court on Monday, the harshest sentence of its kind since Russia invaded Ukraine, after being convicted of treason and other offenses in a trial he said was politically motivated. 6. Ahead of his meeting with Brazilian President Lula, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov expressed gratitude to Brazil for its efforts to bring about a resolution to the conflict in Ukraine, which has caused unease in Washington due to Lula's comments on the war. 7. Apple and Alphabet have raised concerns with Amazon.com after learning that sexually explicit photographs could be accessed by children on the popular Kindle app and called on Amazon to strengthen its content moderation.
8. Billionaire Elon Musk said on Monday he will launch an artificial intelligence (AI) platform that he calls TruthGPT to challenge the offerings from Microsoft and Google. 9. King Charles's coronation. King Charles and his wife Camilla will be crowned on May 6 at London's Westminster Abbey. Royal experts believe Prince Harry will be sidelined by the royal family during his visit. 10. Justices will decide by midnight Wednesday whether to maintain full access to the abortion drug mifepristone while Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk's ruling is appealed. Follow News Learn English. April 19th. 1. When Robert F. Kennedy's son, Kennedy, announced his bid for the presidency earlier this month, 14% of Biden's 2020 voters pledged their support to him. 2. Kevin McCarthy will become the second House Speaker to give an address before Israel's Knesset since 1998, after he was invited to do so by Knesset Speaker Amir Ohana. 3. On Wednesday, Mexico's president criticized the country's Supreme Court, comparing the justices who blocked his proposal to transfer the National Guard's authority from civilians to the army to a former minister who was found guilty of accepting bribes from a drug cartel.
4. Ukrainian President Zelensky inspected the frontier with Belarus and Poland on Wednesday, April 19, and thanked border guards for their defense of the country since Russia's invasion. 5. French President Emmanuel Macron faced protests during his first public appearance since he approved the controversial increase in the retirement age, with demonstrators booing and demanding his resignation. 6. Britain's government on Wednesday published an updated list of ministers' interests, including an outline of the affairs of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who is under investigation over whether he properly declared his wife's shareholdings.
7. Tesla cut prices for some of its Model Y and Model 3 vehicles in the U.S. for the sixth time this year to juice demand as competition among electric vehicle makers heats up around the world. 8. During an interview on Tucker Carlson Tonight, Twitter CEO Elon Musk discussed his views on inflation and the current banking crisis, stating that he believes inflation is inevitable.
9. German car manufacturers are making a strong appearance at the Shanghai Auto Show, as they compete to remain ahead of consumer trends in China, which will determine whether they can continue to dominate the market for electric vehicles both domestically and internationally. 10. Rejecting roles in Ocean's 11. That said, some people did say no to us. Some very famous people told us to F right off. Mark Wahlberg, Johnny Depp. There were others. They regret it now. I regret doing FING Batman, Clooney said during an interview. Follow News Learn English. April 20th. 1. A spaceship called Starship launched and was successful, but a few minutes later it exploded. Elon Musk, the person who made the spaceship, wants to use it for missions in deep space. Before the launch, he said there were many technical challenges and risks involved.
2. Lawmakers are asking the Biden administration to be more open and honest about an investigation into Hunter Biden, the son of the president, after someone from the IRS, the organization that collects taxes in the U.S., who raised concerns about the way the investigation is being handled. 3. The House on Thursday passed legislation aimed at preventing biological males from competing as transgender athletes in girls' and women's sports at schools across the country, after a debate in which several Democrats accused Republicans of bullying transgender students by calling up the bill.
4. Former President Donald Trump still commands the support of a significant share of conservative Christian voters, Reuters interviews with evangelical leaders and opinion polls show, but a window of opportunity remains for a challenger to peel some of that support away. 5. The people who want to be the next president of the United States are having a hard time deciding what they think about abortion because they see signs that most people in the country disagree with Republicans on this issue. 6. White House Press Secretary Karine on Thursday appeared visibly angry as she argued with a reporter about President Biden's role in the budget.
7. Ice cream giveaway at Shanghai Auto Show lands BMW in sticky situation. 8. At the funeral of Paul O'Grady, the host of the TV show For the Love of Dogs, hundreds of his fans and their dogs gathered to bid him farewell.
9. The CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, who is known for spreading false information about the 2020 U.S. presidential election, promised to give a large sum of money to anyone who could prove him wrong. However, a court has now ordered him to pay $5 million to an expert who was able to disprove his claims about the election. Learned a lot for the next test launch in a few months.
Follow News Learn English. April 21st. 1. President Biden joked during a Friday speech that he is a very dull president, only known for his sunglasses and chocolate chip ice cream. 2. The State Department on Friday refused to answer questions about a claim from a former CIA official that Antony Blinken led efforts in 2020 to have intelligence officials write a letter that said the Hunter Biden laptop story was part of a Russian disinformation campaign. 3. The Department of Justice has reached agreements with several oil and gas companies that were reportedly not properly controlling leaks that could harm the environment. These settlements are worth millions of dollars.
4. The people in charge of managing fish and other marine resources, who were put there by the government, told the Biden White House last summer that they were concerned about how wind energy development could harm these resources. 5. Supporters of Florida Governor DeSantis are getting ready to show their financial strength as the governor seeks to overcome some initial challenges. 6. It is wrong to teach a second grader that they may have been born in the wrong body. It is wrong to teach students that gender is a choice, and we don't allow that in Florida.
7. California hillsides are exploding with wildflowers after epic rainfall. The wildflower takeover is dominating hillsides so intensely that the blooms are visible from space. 8. The arrests related to a suspected secret Chinese police station have escalated tensions between Washington and Beijing.
9. The Kremlin is attempting to create an anti-war alliance in Germany, as revealed by a collection of Russian documents reviewed by the Post. The goal is to unite the far right and far left in Germany, according to these documents. 10. Residents of Belgorod were shaken by a dramatic blast that is believed to have been caused by an accidental airstrike involving a Russian fighter bomber which released ammunition over the city. Follow News Learn English. April 22nd. 1. The Biden administration is being accused of ignoring anarchists and violent far-left extremists who are targeting law enforcement and first responders in Atlanta, who are working to address the rise in crime across the country.
2. Vice President Kamala Harris announced on Friday that the Department of Commerce has suggested providing $562 million in funding to help communities become more resilient to the effects of climate change. 3. The U.S. Supreme Court has made a decision to preserve access to a drug called mifepristone, which is used for abortion. This means that for now, access to the drug will not be changed. 4. Congress is facing a ticking time bomb, and as each tick on the clock grows louder, the negotiations will increasingly overshadow anything else happening on Capitol Hill.
5. The Department of Homeland Security announced on Friday that it has created a team to investigate how artificial intelligence, AI, could be used in the detection of fentanyl shipments. 6. Lawyers representing Hunter Biden will meet with officials from the Department of Justice next week as part of the ongoing federal investigation into his taxes and other matters. 7. A group that supports Donald Trump attempted to criticize Florida Governor Ron DeSantis with an ad that focused on his eating habits, but it was considered distasteful. Another group that supports DeSantis responded with an ad questioning why Trump was targeting him.
8. Republican federal and state lawmakers, governors, and attorneys general are pushing back on growing efforts by investors and executives to include environmental, social, and governance factors in their business decision-making. 9. On Friday, the Russian Defense Ministry stated that their assault troops were currently fighting in the western areas of Bakhmut, which is the last section of the Ukrainian city still controlled by Kiev's forces.
10. Chris Evans and Ana de Armas is about all that's required to make the sales pitch for Ghosted, a spirited if familiar action-based romantic comedy, where the sparring banter generally outshines the muscular stunts.
Follow News Learn English. April 24th. 1. The Republican National Committee, a group of politicians who support the Republican Party, is creating a website that will check the accuracy of statements made by President Biden in real time. This is happening because President Biden is planning to run for re-election, and the Republican Party wants to make sure that everything he says is truthful. 2. A letter was sent to the Department of Education by a group of parents and education organizations. The letter is about the changes being proposed to Title IX, which would affect transgender athletes in school sports. 3. The Supreme Court announced on Monday that it will review a case to determine whether people have the right to comment on government officials' personal social media pages. The case involves the First Amendment and whether it applies to social media users who have been blocked from commenting on public officials' personal pages. 4. In Nevada, the police and other law enforcement officials are supporting a bill that has been proposed by Republican Governor Joe Lombardo. This bill would give the police more power to tackle the increase in crime that has been happening throughout the state.
5. On Monday, Ron DeSantis, a possible candidate for the U.S. presidency, met with the Prime Minister of Japan. During the meeting, they praised the strong relationship between the two countries, especially the concept of a strong Japan. 6. On Sunday, the Foreign Ministry of Jordan announced that a member of its parliament had been detained by Israel. The lawmaker is suspected of smuggling weapons and gold into the West Bank, and Jordan is working to secure his release. 7. On Monday, the South Korean president traveled to the United States to meet with President Joe Biden. This meeting comes at a time when some people in South Korea are beginning to question the alliance between the two countries, which has provided security for South Korea for many years. The concerns are mainly about the nuclear umbrella, and whether the United States would be willing to use nuclear weapons to defend South Korea in case of an attack. These doubts have been growing recently, and the summit between the two leaders is seen as an opportunity to address these concerns and reaffirm the strength of the alliance between the two countries.
Follow News Learn English. April 25th. 1. President Biden has announced that he plans to run for president again in a video. He wants to finish the job and turn his originally short-term presidency into something more significant. 2. President Biden, who is 80, declares his intention to run for the 2024 campaign, even though he has limited support within his own party. Almost half of the individuals who voted for him in the 2020 election believe that he should not run for office again. 3. Representative Ronnie Jackson, who previously served as the White House doctor, is demanding that President Biden undergo a cognitive test and share the results with the public, or withdraw from the 2024 presidential race. 4. When you first announced your bid to run in the 2020 presidential election, questions and concerns were raised surrounding your cognitive abilities. Those concerns have only increased because your mental decline and forgetfulness have become more apparent since you were elected.
5. The American people should have absolute confidence in their president and know that he or she can perform their duties as head of state and commander-in-chief, Jackson also said. Therefore, the American people deserve complete transparency on the mental capabilities of their highest elected leader. 6. The upcoming rematch in the United States could be one of the most significant in history. It involves a sitting president who presents himself as a protector of democracy and is competing against a former president who frequently rejects election outcomes. 7. People who are worried about the possibility of Donald Trump being re-elected and those who refuse to accept Joe Biden's win could both recognize the immense significance of the 2024 election if both Biden and Trump are candidates, as it could determine the fate of the nation. 8. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has recently released a statement urging caution and vigilance, as there has been a growing trend of violent extremist groups sharing tactics for attacking power stations.
English News Assistant. Read the native language translation first. And follow the broadcasting to read aloud. Witness the miracle in 3 months. Follow News Learn English. April 26th. 1. President Biden and South Korean President Yoon have reached an agreement to prevent North Korea from acting aggressively, which includes plans to deploy a nuclear-armed submarine. 2. White House staff members are working quickly to help Vice President Kamala Harris increase her low approval ratings, especially after she and President Biden announced their plans to run for re-election this week. 3. The Speaker of the House of Representatives met with small groups of lawmakers to persuade them to vote in favor of a bill. They need 218 votes to pass the bill, and this could create more pressure on President Biden. 4. It is surprising to note that DeSantis was once considered a potential leader who could defeat Donald Trump and bring about a new era for the Republican Party. He was thought to embody the principles of Trumpism without any negative associations.
5. The recent explosion of SpaceX's new Starship rocket during its first flight test is an example of a business strategy called successful failure, which is beneficial for Elon Musk's company. 6. The head of NATO expressed that Ukraine should be part of the alliance, but it is unlikely that they will become a member in the near future. 7. United States and Philippine forces fired on a mock enemy warship in the South China Sea on Wednesday, the latest display of American firepower in Asia as tensions with China continue to rise.
8. An Iranian commander has been sentenced to 13 years in prison for his role in shooting down a Ukrainian passenger plane in January 2020, which resulted in the deaths of all 176 people on board. 9. An Italian princess, who was originally from Texas, has been forced to leave her villa in Rome, which contained an original artwork by Caravaggio. 10. Tom Parker Bowles, the son of Camilla, has spoken out in defense of his mother's relationship with Prince Charles, saying that she'd married the person she loved, and that it was never going to be an easy ride. As you watch President Joe Biden's announcement that he will run for re-election, remember what he is promising. The American people overwhelmingly oppose treating people differently based on their race, but the Biden administration supports doing so. The American people strongly favor developing American energy sources, yet the Democrats voted 203-4 against the Lower Energy Cost Act. Americans overwhelmingly favor parents having rights concerning their children's education. Yet, not a single Democrat voted for a Parents' Bill of Rights in the House. 1. As I write this, the Pentagon is trying to explain why we can't rescue Americans from the civil war in Sudan. Meanwhile, other countries are flying into a secure airfield and doing their jobs. It has the sense of Afghanistan all over again. 2. Whether it is a matter of incompetence or deliberate policy, the disaster on our borders is allowing millions of people illegally, huge quantities of drugs, and a wave of human trafficking and criminal penetration unlike anything we have ever seen. 3. The American people strongly oppose biological males competing with women and girls in sports, yet not a single Democrat voted for the bill codifying this measure. Meanwhile, the Biden administration has proposed a rule to allow males in girls' locker rooms and sports.
4. Americans strongly oppose transgender propaganda in schools, and deeply oppose sex change surgery and drugs for minors, yet the Biden Defense Department published a paper saying 7-year-olds could decide to change their gender. 5. Finally, Americans oppose a debt ceiling increase if it does not have significant spending cuts. Only 1 in 4 favor the Biden approach of raising the debt ceiling with no changes. Yet the Democrats ignore the popular feeling and march on in lockstep. 6. President Biden is no stranger to detailed cheat sheets when speaking to the press, but the president's team seems to have taken things up a notch after he revealed a pre-written question from a reporter during Wednesday's press conference. 7. Speaker Kevin McCarthy's bill to increase the debt ceiling and reduce spending was passed by the House on Wednesday, with 4 Republicans voting against it. This marks a significant achievement for McCarthy's leadership, securing a win by a narrow margin. 8. Some people are worried that Ukraine's friends who have been helping them may be getting tired of it. Ukraine is running out of bullets, which is bad timing because they are getting ready to fight back against Russia.
1. Americans have compiled a list of President Biden's top achievements and failures during his time in office. Some of his legislative accomplishments were praised, while others criticized his handling of issues such as the border, economy, and Afghanistan. 2. The United States proceeds with confidence in its long-term economic strength, Yellen said in her speech. We remain the largest and most dynamic economy in the world. We also remain firm in our conviction to defend our values and national security. 3. An American teacher managed to escape from Sudan on a French evacuation plane, despite receiving no assistance from the U.S. government.
4. European countries are demanding answers from Beijing after its top diplomat in Paris questioned the sovereignty of former Soviet republics, in comments that could undermine China's efforts to be seen as a potential mediator between Russia and Ukraine. 5. There has been a recent surge of Russian airstrikes on multiple cities in Ukraine, including Kyiv, resulting in the death of at least 25 individuals. One of the strikes targeted a block of flats in the central city of Uman, claiming the lives of 23 people, including 4 children. 6. Ukraine's armed forces are finishing their preparations for a counteroffensive against Russian troops, the defense minister has said. Though U.S.-made Abrams tanks would not arrive in time to participate in the counteroffensive.
7. Russia denies access to imprisoned journalist Evan Gershkovich to be visited by U.S. officials, following reports of the U.S. refusal to grant visas to Russian journalists who were scheduled to attend a UN meeting. 8. The Israeli ambassador criticized the United Nations for holding a meeting on the country's Memorial Day, saying it was a disrespectful act to those who have died in service.
9. Turkish President Erdogan cancelled election rallies scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday after falling ill on live television, forcing the interview to abruptly come to an end. 10. Food companies have seen larger profits due to higher prices, but some customers are now reducing their spending or opting for cheaper options.
English News Assistant. 1. The video announcement of President Biden's re-election bid was revealing, a fast-paced montage of pretty pictures with the leader of the free world providing a voiceover. 2. Only twice did Biden briefly address the camera, the message being "We're all in this together, fighting for America's freedoms," a far cry from "I alone can fix it." 3. President Biden delivered a speech Friday during a reception for the Democratic National Committee in which he said MAGA Republicans are attempting to undo the progress made in the U.S.
4. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is launching an effort to get members of Congress educated on artificial intelligence, as the rapidly advancing technology enters more facets of everyday life and pressure to regulate it grows. 5. The Florida legislature issued final approval Friday for a bill that allows state officeholders to run in presidential elections without resigning their current post, and now goes to the governor's desk for final approval. 6. The United States government has begun a land-based evacuation of American civilians who are in Sudan amid a growing civil conflict in the country.
7. According to a governor appointed by Russia, a Ukrainian drone strike on an oil reservoir in Crimea on Saturday was the cause of a large fire at the facility. 8. In a new video that was released, some members of the Iranian army were seen landing on an oil tanker named Advantage Sweet that was heading to the United States, according to the Iranian Navy. This incident happened in the Gulf of Oman.
9. A missing yacht with 3 Russians and 2 Egyptians on board reached safety in Djibouti in East Africa on Thursday, after going missing for days following an attack off the coast of Yemen, its owners said. 10. Jack Nicholson, a famous 86-year-old Hollywood actor, attended a Los Angeles Lakers basketball game against the Memphis Grizzlies at the NBA playoff series. This was the first time in 2 years that he was sitting in the courtside seats, and he was seen cheering for the Lakers.